Today I'm going to be talking about experimenting with some Ilford HP5. I'm going to be going around New Farm, Brisbane again. I have previously shot a roll of Portrait 400 in the same area, so it'd be interesting to see how the two compare in the same settings with a similar kind of light. I normally stick to colour film. I like using different colours to give a certain mood and feel, but it'll be interesting to experiment with some more black and white moving forward. I have shot one roll of expired Fuji Neopan 1600. I really loved the stills that came out of it actually, especially this portrait, which was very grainy and contrasty, which definitely gave it a kind of very moody feel to it. I think because the roll was expired in 2006, it had more of a grain than it would be if it wasn't. Although these shots were super grainy, they definitely kept their sharpness to give them more of a punchy feel rather than being too washed out, which I like. Someone is phoning me. I'm filming, bruv. Give me... Okay. Sorry, Fee, I'll call you back. Although I think a few were just too dark and too contrasty for my liking. I think using black and white makes you focus more on your composition and the contents of your shot, rather than worrying about like the different colors in effect, which narrows down your focus quite a bit, which I like, and makes you concentrate on maybe a couple of things rather than too many. Today I'm going to be using the Canon EOS 500 with the 35mm Sigma lens. I should be changing things up soon with some new cameras getting involved, but yeah, just bear with me on that one. I've actually seen some great results when you push HP5 one stop, so I'm going to try that out as well. This definitely was a learning experience shooting HP5. Probably wasn't my favorite roll, but that was probably more down to what I was shooting rather than HP5 itself. This was probably down to not finding many compositions that I actually liked and settling for less desired compositions just to finish a roll. I think it's okay that not every day is going to be a fulfilling experience when out shooting, and to make sure you don't get yourself in a rut where you stop shooting because of those reasons. And I normally just push myself to carry on and keep shooting and kind of push through that creative rut. It helps me get back on my feet and back to shooting kind of what I like. Normally before, I'd get into a position where there'd be a day I didn't really like any of the shots, and then thought, you know, the world is crashing, it's all over. So I've learned to just push through those moments and know that they're only kind of like a temporary thing. Some of my favorites in the series were more of the rustic urban looking scenes, especially the one of the trolley had a sense of abandonment and loneliness to it, which I liked. And the second probably was the one of the motorbike. I think the sprawled out hangers gave it an edgy feel to it and kind of led your eyes towards the back of the bike. I came across a car wreckage where I feel like the black and white really stood out in this scene, where it brought attention to the detail of the wreckage rather than any colours that might have taken your attention away. And there was a piece of graffiti on the back of the image which made you think that this car had been there for quite a while, and it added that sense of abandonment to that shot as well. I made some small adjustments to these images. Mainly I found the contrast was a bit too much for my liking, so I turned that down a bit, and also the highlights, I turned them down a touch, especially on the brighter scenes where the sky sometimes is a little bit too bright for me, so I had to pull it back a bit. I think this was mainly due to the time of day I was shooting some of the images. I think maybe HP5 or black and white for me. I'd prefer it to be shot on like an overcast day, because I found that the images I took later in the day were probably my favourite. I'd love to try out some HP5 on some portraits. I feel like the black and white is definitely made for that kind of setting, and yeah, it'd be cool to test that out, as well as maybe some night photography. I really like neon signs and kind of those simplistic night scenes in black and white, which I've shot on digital before, so yeah, be keen to try that out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe if you do like my content, and follow me on Instagram for more of my film photography as well. But yeah, I've been doing some more medium format photography lately, so be on the lookout for that as well. Cool.